Hallo, guten Tag, herzlich willkommen. Hello everyone, welcome. I hope you're all doing well. So in this video we are going to practice using the German verb haben in the present tense. Haben means to have. Students, remember to study the topic in your textbook. You'll find the conjugation there. There's also a grammar tutorial video. If you're joining us from outside of the class and you don't have any materials, all you have to do is just Google the verb haben and the conjugation of the verb haben in the present tense, and you'll find some websites and videos on YouTube that describe how haben works. And in this video we are going to practice with haben. So the first thing is, be sure that you've memorized the conjugation of haben in the present tense. There's no way around it. You have to memorize it. Native speakers just memorize through practice. So the more you practice, the better off you'll be. But it's very important to learn it well from the very beginning, as this is another one of the most used verbs in the German language. You'll have to use it quite frequently. So invest the time now here at the beginning to learn it well, and then you'll be able to use it for the rest of your life without any problems. So here we have the forms ich habe, I have, ich habe. Du hast, that's you have, that's the informal. Sie haben, you have, that's the formal you. In other words, when you're addressing someone you know well, when you use when you address someone that you don't know well, or in any formal situation, you use du when you address someone that you know well. Hat, he has. Sie hat, she has. Es hat, it has. Wir haben, we have. Ihr habt, this is the you, the informal plural. Sie haben, this is you have, also the formal plural. And sie haben, they have. So be sure you've memorized those forms. And we're going to use this vocabulary in this practice, so it's helpful to be sure that you know a few vocabulary items well and that you know the gender of those nouns. For example, we have 4 masculine nouns here. We have der Bleistift, der Computer, der Kuli, der Stuhl, and neuter, das Buch, das Foto, das Heft, das Fahrrad, and then some feminine, die Uhr, die Lampe, die Pflanze, die Jacke. Okay, so the gender of the nouns is very important when using haben, because when you use haben, you will use a noun after the form of haben that you use to say that you have something. And the important thing about this is that something is what we call the direct object. So in other words, what you have, the thing that you have, is grammatically referred to as a direct object. The direct object is usually defined very generally as that which receives the action of the verb. Okay, so if you have something, and the thing about the direct object is it's considered to be in the accusative case. Okay, so what is the accusative case? Well, the accusative case simply has to do with, for purposes of this video, the forms that you use on nouns. When a noun is the subject of a sentence, it's considered to be in the nominative case. So all of the vocabulary that you learn is always in the nominative case, the nouns, that is. So when you learn the article that goes with the noun, for example, you learned Bleistift, and you learn that Bleistift takes der, it's masculine. When you learn it the first time, you always learn it in the nominative case. In other words, the form that you'll use for that article and noun when it's the subject of a sentence. Like I might say, the pencil is big, der Bleistift ist groß, die Lampe ist neu, the lamp is new, das Fahrrad ist schnell, the bike is fast. So I'm using these nouns here as the subject. When it's no longer the subject, when it's a direct object, it's in the accusative case. And what happens in the accusative case is, for the masculine nouns, you have to change the der to a den. This den is really the word der, but in the accusative case, it marks this noun here as a direct object. For feminine nouns, the nominative and the accusative case article forms are the same thing for neuter, and also the same thing for plural, like die Bleistifte, the pencils. As a subject, it would be die Bleistifte. As a direct object, it would be die Bleistifte. So congratulations, you've just graduated to having to use charts in your study of German, and don't feel bad about that. There's a lot of detailed information about German grammar, and don't forget that people in many professions have to use some kind of aid. For example, pilots use checklists to be sure they don't forget anything critical. Surgeons may use a surgical manual even during surgery. So German is just like that. In order to get what we call the case system right, it's very, very helpful when you're studying to memorize charts. So this is your first chart here. So we have nominative case and accusative case. And really the only thing that you have to remember is der becomes den in the accusative. And that's pretty much it. So when I'm using haben, if I want to say I have the lamp, I will say ich habe die Lampe. That's the accusative. I have the bike. Ich habe das Fahrrad. I have the bicycle. That's accusative. Ich habe die Bleistifte. I have the pencils. But when I say I have the pencil singular, I will not say ich habe der Bleistift. A native German speaker will correct you right away and say, nein, den Bleistift. Ich habe den Bleistift. And if you ask why, they'll say, well, that's accusative. Das ist Accusativ. And that just means that if it's the word that comes after have, if it's what you have, it's a direct object, so it has to be in the accusative. And that's pretty much it. That's the explanation. So let's practice. You ready? Ready for the practice? I know it was kind of a long review before we get to the practice, but it's really super important to understand this right from the very beginning, to understand the cases. This is the beginning of understanding the case system in German. So we're just working with nominative and accusative right now. Okay, so let's start with this. The book is small, and we're going to alternate cases here. So das Buch, klein, we want to say the book is small, so the book is the nominative, it's a subject. Das Buch ist klein. Das Buch ist klein. Okay, so we know how to say the book is small with the book as the subject. Now we want to use the book as a direct object. So if I want to say I have the book, how do you say that? Ich habe das Buch. Remember, for neuter nouns, it's the same in the nominative and the accusative. Das Buch ist klein. Ich habe das Buch. So you'll see where I'm going with this in a minute. Die Pflanze, schön. The plant is beautiful. Die Pflanze ist schön. Die Pflanze ist schön. I want to say, I have the plant. Die Pflanze ist schön. This is nominative. Now it's accusative. Ich habe die Pflanze. Die Pflanze ist schön. Ich habe die Pflanze. The plant is beautiful. I have the plant. So one sentence here with die Pflanze in the nominative. One sentence here with die Pflanze in the accusative. Okay, now here is where there's a difference. The pencil is new. Der Bleistift ist neu. Der Bleistift ist neu. Now I want to say I have the pencil. Der Bleistift ist neu. Ich habe, remember you can't say der, you have to change it to the accusative. Ich habe den Bleistift. Der Bleistift ist neu. Ich habe den Bleistift. Der Bleistift ist neu. Ich habe den Bleistift. You may see den at the beginning of a sentence because Germans can play around with word order a little bit more than we can in English. For example, to say I have the pencil, you could say, instead of ich habe den Bleistift, you could say den Bleistift habe ich. It's a different word order. The pencil have I, literally, but you can do that in German. So don't be surprised if you see a den at the beginning of a sentence. And that's kind of emphasizing that I have the pencil, right? Den Bleistift habe ich. Den Bleistift habe ich. Remember, learn the articles that go with each noun from the very beginning. It becomes increasingly important that you know that as you progress in your study of German. Keep practicing. Well, that's it for this lesson. That is haben and the accusative case in a nutshell. Das ist alles. Auf Wiedersehen. Tschüss.